The man known to many as Bobby Knuckles has once again stamped down his mark as the undisputed #1 contender within the middleweight division, this time by way of a masterclass against Kelvin Gastelum last weekend. Look, I love the Reaper as a moniker. It's a fitting name that has served the former champ well over the years, but that win over Kelvin was Bobby Knuckles through and through. Whittaker looked sensational in there against the seemingly reinvigorated Gastelum. Now Kelvin had indeed fallen on a rough patch of form in recent years, but in his clash against Ian Heinisch, I felt as though he looked a lot better than he had in quite some time. So based on his win just 2 months prior, and the moments he showed on the night itself, in my eyes that was a very good version of Kelvin Gastelum in there despite the loss. But make no mistake, this was Whittaker's night from start to finish. We already know what to expect from this well-proven elite talent, but I'd be pretty ready to argue that we were seeing different levels from Whittaker in there, improvements to his all-round approach that seemed to make him far more watertight than usual. Because as much as I believe Whittaker to be a great fighter, two things have been pretty clear to me. Firstly, it's that he does get hit, and he does get dropped. It's a feature of many of his outings, from the Derek Brunson fight that signaled his arrival to the top flight, to his clashes with Darren Till and Yoel Romero. I'm not quite ready to say that Whittaker is chinny, but he certainly can be hit and hurt. Maybe it's a consequence of the numerous power punchers he has faced in recent times, but make of that what you will. The second point I'd like to make is that when the time came for him to take on the last stylebender Israel Adesanya, I really don't think he was at his best. Now look, I don't necessarily think that a repeat matchup with Adesanya would be completely different, but you do have to remember that Rob was coming off 10 rounds with Yoel Romero, and upon watching his somewhat one-dimensional approach to taking on Adesanya, his constant attempts to rush in and catch the elusive striker with his leaping hooks didn't fill me with confidence about his chances. And sure enough, when the finish came, it left me thinking that we'd never see Whittaker hit those heights again. Call it unfair, short-sighted, whatever. But after 10 rounds in there with Yoel Romero taking the type of damage he did, followed by such an uncharacteristically rigid performance to defend his belt, yeah, I was at least worried that the Reaper's progression and evolution was going to be stifled. And yet, through his victories over Darren Till, Jared Cannonier, and of course this latest win over Kelvin Gastelum, we've not only seen Whittaker go 3-0, but we've also, in my estimation, seen him improve considerably with each passing bout. If you're enjoying this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all of our latest uploads, before leaving a comment to let YouTube's algorithms know that we're fast becoming one of the best MMA channels on the platform. And again, I'm a big believer in Robert Whittaker's potential to reclaim his mantle as the best middleweight on the planet. And on the back of this Gastelum performance, I'd argue that this is the single best version of Bobby Knuckles we've ever had the pleasure of witnessing. From start to finish, Whittaker was smooth, defensively bulletproof and versatile, all while showcasing a level of flow and creativity that was leaps beyond what he'd shown us before. To put it simply, the man looked like a world champion, and Kelvin, fearsome as he may be, was left largely nullified from start to finish. And look, I know that Marvin Vettori has been making quite a lot of noise in recent times, and in my mind he is one solid win away from nabbing a shot at the title. But despite his victories over Kevin Holland and Jack Hermanson, which are of course impressive wins, he is not in the title picture just yet. And I would hope that the UFC fully understand the value of setting up the rematch between Adesanya and Whittaker right now. Their first pairing, lest we forget, was the highest attended UFC event of all time, a show that took place in Melbourne's Marvel Stadium in front of 57,000 people. It was a special night for a number of reasons, but I think now, after all that both men have gone through in the time since, it'll be an even grander occasion. Maybe not in terms of the scale, but as far as the growing stature of these two men and above all other things, the stakes, I do think that there will be a very real feeling of danger for both men heading into this one. Adesanya has of course tasted his first defeat since turning pro, losing, although certainly not in devastating fashion, to the light heavyweight champion Jan Blachowicz in a bout that saw the 205-pound king exploiting some interesting holes in Israel's game. Now, has there been enough to learn from in that bout to aid Whittaker in making a better account of himself at the second time of asking? Well, we obviously saw Jan control the fight in crucial moments due to his superior physicality and overall wrestling game. We know that Israel is excellent defensively along the cage, but even from Whittaker's performance against Gastelum, his takedowns were used excellently to keep his opponent on his toes. I think there's a very interesting route to victory in Whittaker's use of takedowns in open space if he can manage to assert himself early in the rematch against Izzy. Sure, Blachowicz brought with him a larger frame when he took on the comparatively more slight rising middleweight, but Whittaker is no slouch in the wrestling department, and you have to think that guys like him and the aforementioned Marvin Vettori will be looking to their wrestling chops as a key to stifling Adesanya's output. So how do I see the rematch playing out? Well, Whittaker is clearly better than ever, that much is certain. I think he's sharp sharper, more fluid, and in contrast to his one-dimensional approach against Adesanya the first time around, his fight IQ and overall game planning seem to be in a very good place. But will that be enough to take out one of the best strikers in the sport? Well, I like his chances this time around more than I did at UFC 243. I could certainly see his trademark ducking high kick catching Israel if the opportunity presents itself because, well, if Kelvin Gastelum can catch Adesanya with a high kick, then why not? Okay, disregard that. I just thought it was pretty insane at the time that the 5'9" Gastelum was able to wobble the 6'4" Israel Adesanya with a head kick. But all in all, I do think that Adesanya's prowess on the feet will be the deciding factor again. I don't think it'll be the shutout that the first one was, but over the course of a round or two, Stylebender will find enough of an opening to crack Whittaker on the chin. It didn't take a devastating blow last time, just an accurate one. And though I wouldn't be surprised to see Whittaker pull it off, I'm still going to back Adesanya by way of another TKO finish. But how do you think a rematch between Robert Whittaker and the middleweight champion will go down? Do let us know in the comment section below. We always love to hear from you guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and a comment before subscribing to the channel so you can stay up to date with all of our latest uploads. Thank you for watching.